Let's look at using the app to get started on the work that we have set up and the routes we've created. We're going to see two examples. First thing we'll notice is at the bottom, there are four different options that are on the screen. Not everybody has access to these components. Access is based on the role that was set up for the user when you added them to your EXT database. A person's access can be changed by changing their role in the user settings. The routes are organized by the route types, and then they're listed in alphabetical order by the name that you created for the route. Let's hop into one of our lawn routes for our first example. When you click to go into the route, the default is to show you all the addresses that are still listed as to do. We can see at the top that we have the option to see all of the addresses, just the ones to do, the ones that we've changed to later, completed, or skipped. You can also see any site instructions listed from the client file on this screen as well. If you click on the first address, the site instructions are still visible. You can hit View More if the note gets cut off. We can get directions by clicking on this button here. This will take us to the map and provide the directions. To get back to the app, click the button on your phone that allows you to see all your open apps, and it'll be listed there, and then you can click on it. Right now, the status of the service is pending. If we click on the drop-down menu, we can change it to in transit, start, complete, later, or skipped. In your configuration settings, you can set up a route so that the client receives an email when you change the status to in transit or completed. Once the status is changed, it will show up in a history log towards the bottom. Notes can also be added for internal purposes as an office note and/or can be sent to the client. These are independent notes, so the client does not see an office note that was made. Even if you have turned off the feature to send an email to the client when the status is changed, a crew member can still send a note to a client. An example of this might be that the crew is skipping the lawn that week because it's within cutting height and they send a note to the client to let them know. Or while clearing snow, an operator wants to send a note or a picture that the car was in the way and they couldn't clear the driveway. If we click on Add Note, a screen will pop up. The default is an office note. Click on the drop-down menu to choose Customer as the option. Once you put your note in, hit Send. When sending a note to a client, once you hit Send, a screen will pop up to ask you to confirm that you want to send the note. If you hit Cancel, it will bring you back to your note and you can choose to change it to an office note or hit the X and discard the note. It will not ask you this if you are sending a note to the office. All of the notes and pictures also get logged in the history as well. You can also attach a file or take a picture. Hit Add Note. The paperclip is to add files from your phone, and the picture symbol is to add pictures. Click on the picture symbol. A screen will pop up so you can add the picture from the gallery on your phone or take a picture in the moment. Once you click on the button to take the picture, it will ask you to retry or hit OK. If you hit OK, it will attach the picture. You can compose a message with the picture or you can just add the picture. Let's go back to the main list. So now because we've changed the status to completed, it's no longer in our list of properties to do. If we scroll to the left, then we can see that there's one address that's listed as complete. Let's go into the next address and change the status to skipped. It shows in the history below. Let's go back to our main screen. It now gets logged into the skip section and we can see the addresses left to do. If we go back into the main list of routes, we can see the percent of list that is done. The percentage that shows up here is the percentage of completed and skipped address. It does not include pending or later. If you change an address to later, it will stay in the list to be completed so that we can complete it at a later time. It will also be in the later section. The list can be reset at any time. In a service case like lawn mowing, once all the services are completed in the list, we'll want to reset the list for the next service time. To reset the list from the app, click on the three dots located on the top right and it will open a drop-down menu. Hit Reset. It will come up and ask you if you want to confirm resetting the route. Hit Confirm. Once you do this, go back to your main route list and you'll see that the route has been reset. The Edit button in the drop-down menu allows you to check off multiple addresses at a time to complete them all at the same time. You can also reset a list within the desktop by clicking on Routes, going into the route you want to reset, and at the top beside the Edit button, there's a Reset Route button to click. Let's go on to our next example, which includes work that has a work order attached. If we go into the route week of September 23rd and click on one of the addresses, we'll see that we now have a start timer located at the top, as well as the drop-down menu with the various components of what we can choose for its work status. We can also now see that there's a work order listed. Let's click on the work order. We'll see that the client information is located at the top. The office note, which is a description of the work that we'll be doing based on what was entered when initially putting the work order together. Below that, there is a drop-down menu that says Section. There's only one section to this work order, but if there were more sections, then we would see that in this drop-down menu and we would be able to click between the different sections. When you keep scrolling down, we see the elements that are in the work order that was created by an estimator, and we can see the quantities that are estimated for each element. To be able to log the material and the time that we're using on the job, click on Add Actuals. Enter in the quantity for one or more elements, and then we can add in the totals. You don't have to add in totals all at once. You can add in materials and labor as it happens. Items that were not on the original work order can also be added by team members in the field. When you hit Add Actuals, towards the top, there is a button that says Add Items. Click on this, and a list of items will show up to choose from. Once you check off the items you want to add, hit Add Items, and it will bring you back to the main list with the additional selected items. At this point, you need to enter in a number to the component that you just added in. If you hit save without adding in a quantity for the item you just added, the item will not be saved in the list. And you'll see now that what you've just added is in there. Let's go back to the main screen for the work that we're doing. Towards the top, you will see a Start Timer button. This appears based on your configuration settings for the service line items. This timer is to track employees' time for working on a site and is linked to their timesheet, and it differs from the status of the job, which is linked to the service line item and the client. When you hit Start Timer, it will start logging the time. So if there's 3 people who are on the site, all 3 people can hit start and stop, and the time gets tracked for this work. We'll see more on that when we look at invoicing and when we look at timesheets. The important note here is that when workers hit the start and stop button, it will track and calculate their hours that were put in for the work on that site. It's important to note that a worker still needs to clock in and out of their day from the main clock in, located at the top of the screen. Once the work is complete, we can change the status to complete, and we're good to go on to the next job. Check out the video on invoicing to see more about reconciling the actuals on the work order and where the time gets logged.